Right.
Oh, so this evening we are going to be Oisik in a Sikha from the Rabbi. It was said on Erev Chanukah Toshin Nun Beis Yom Rishon Kof Dalet Kislev Toshin Nun Beis, which was B'Maimad Adlochas Nea Rishon Shel Chanukah, B'Maimad Pirsumei Niza Oilomi Alidei Alavi Korim to Levian or Levian.
English. We need English.
Who is?
English. We need English.
Oh, sorry, yeah. In the Maimad of Pirsumei Niza, when they lit the Ner Chanukah in 770, but together with several other places, several Kupshute throughout the whole world, through the Levian. Yeah, how do you call it? What do they call that? Levian? Not call him Levian or Levian?
Satellite.
Levian.
Satellite.
Yeah.
Satellite.
Yeah, satellite. Kind of Rabbi Koretz for Levian. Yeah, Levian. As ואז כולם הדליקו במימד אחד, וכולם ראו אחד את השני.
English, we need English.
Everybody in one place, in one mimed, had it called one like platform, everybody together saw everybody. So even when they lit by the Rebbe, they also lit simultaneously throughout the world, in Australia and in Russia and in Canada, I think, in India, all over. There was like and the Labian, or the satellite, whatever it's called, has the power of showing the same thing to several people throughout the world, all over, and they all see one another and they all hear one another at the same moment. It's not that they have to wait for a while till they hear or see the other person. It's like simultaneously. That's organized by this satellite. So they organize such a Hadochas Ner Chanukah. So the Rebbe made a whole sikha, because it also involved children. It was specially arranged for the children of was specially arranged for the children of Tzfat Hashem. Haven't seen him in years. Anyway, we're in the middle circle. But very good to see you. As, we have a very small audience because everybody went to Yerushalayim. So, everybody's coming late this evening. So, you so already feeling better?
Much better. Thank you.
Oh. Rega. Slight technical difficulty. Okay.
So let's continue.
223.
So we're learning this. If you have a copy? Yeah. So what happened was that everybody throughout different parts of the world lit together, and the children in Tzfat Hashem and so on, they took a central part on their own, apart from the the grown-ups. They said the prophets, or they said the 12 psukim beforehand, or something. But it was a maimed, a platform, arrangement for the benefit of the children, the Tzivas Hashem. But together with that, it was like for the Muhugorim, for the grown-up people also. So that was the maimed. And after they lit the Hanukkah lights throughout the world, each one in his place, who was able to see all the others as they were lighting, the Rabbi made this sikha. So since we learned this before, I think, I thought we would find this being as we are Erev Hanukkah and Shabbos Lifnei Hanukkah. I thought this would be very informative. I can give everybody a lead-in to the whole thing. So the Rebbe says, Hascholas HaTorah Kulo, at the beginning of the Torah in its entirety, Chamisha Chumshei Torah, that's the whole 5 Chomashim, Ibohidoa V'Hoiroa, שנעשיס היסוד בחיו של כל אחד ואחד מישראל וכלל ישראל. The Rebbe said that the Torah begins with a statement, and as it were, almost like an announcement, you might say, that's an instruction. Hidden in that announcement is a hoiroa, and that hoiroa becomes a fundament and a foundation in the life of every individual, and when I get to the Klal Yisrael. Now, what is that? The Torah begins with Bereshis Boro Elokim Eisa Shomayim Veisa Oretz. Over Mela, that's a general announcement on the part of the Torah, which leads to a basis for the whole lifetime and the whole Aveda, the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu of Ali Yidden. So the emphasis is that forms the basis of the whole Sikha. The whole Sikha builds itself around this principle. So the Rebbe says, Kolo Elam Kulei, Shomayim. What the Shomayim is Koilo Gama Shomayim Yoinim, Shomei HaShomayim. The word Shomayim is a Mila Koilelis. It's not just a given point anywhere, but Shomayim is Koilo, all the heavenly bodies. I'm sorry, Benji. We're right near the beginning on the first page. All of the heavenly bodies and the heavenly bodies. So all madrigas, right at the moment we're talking about even in Gashmias, that in Shomayim there are different levels. There's Shomayim and then there's Shomei HaShomayim. And Legabi that level in Shomayim there's Shomei HaShomayim. And therefore it comes out that the word Shomayim is Amila Koilelas, how they call it, a word that it contains in itself a huge number of details. And so the same with the word Oretz, Koilo Gam Pina Nidaches Shepekitsei HaOretz. That when I say Oretz, I mean where I am, but at the same time I mean the whole world. And that would include even how do you call it, a pina nidachas, I forgot the expression in English.
Far-flung corner. Far-flung corner of the world.
Yeah, a far-flung corner, even somewhere we could say ho'elam. And not only that, he said, "B'chol tzva'om," and like it's brought down in the Midrash, and Rashi mentions it also over there, that when I say kol tzva'om, that also includes all sorts of details, and so that each word and each implication even is a general one, and it's koidel in itself, a multitude of details. So therefore is of a cold form, and that includes Tzfat HaShomayim and Tzfat HaOretz. That includes both the hosts of the heavens and the host of the earth. Eis HaShomayim l'Rabbeis Toldoiseihem, ve'eis HaOretz l'Rabbeis Toldoiseihem. Well, that Rashi brings that down b'Makoimoi, and it's apparent that Rashi brings that b'Shem Medrashi Chazal. However, Rashi said, and he bases himself on Klal, both in Gemara and in Medrashim, that when I say the word es, Kodesh Baruch Hu Bora es HaShomayim, that the word es is koil or something else. The word es doesn't just lead me to the noun I'm referring to, but it includes other things together with it. So if I say Bora HaKodesh Baruch Hu Eis HaShomayim ve'eis HaOretz, that means together with Shomayim, all the, what you might call the toil days, all the things that are shayach and things which are tafel, because they're like minimal and small compared to the Shomayim. The Es HaOretz is also, the rabbis told us, say Ho, it includes all the toilers and all the details and all the aspects found on the earth. So he says, Nivro alidei Kodesh Baruch Hu Boro Elokim. All of these details and all these levels and all these things which are included in the general terminology, indicating, particularly in the Shemayim, Dvarim, Rabbim, Vatsumim, all of it together was Nivro alidei Kodesh Baruch Hu Hamera Boro Elokim. So that's the first announcement, and that's the way the Torah begins, with a general announcement of that nature. So now ask yourself the question: what is the tachlis? What did the Kodesh Baruch Hu create the whole world for? What is the point of all these myriad details that are all included in the word Boro Elokim? What is all that? What is the purpose of it? So the Tachlis Briyosom, is like Rashi brings also over there, that Bereshis makes base ratios. In other words, the word braces is that word two like particles, Ber and ratios. Ber is base, and base is two in one. Like he brings over there, Rashi B'Shem Hamed. Base ratios, B'Shvil Shnei Dvarim. And he said that Indian, the fact that the word, the letter base doesn't lose its grammatical usage also, and base means through or because of. The word, the letter base means like for the purpose of, or things of that nature. So therefore, on the one hand, it's sending it to Inyanim, but to Inyanim, which for their purpose and their whole thing, that's why the whole creation occurred. So he said, B'shvil shnei dvarim shenikro reishis. B'shvil ha'toyera shenikras reishis, or b'shvil Yisrael shenikro reishis. There are two things which are they're the ikar tachlis of the whole Bria, and they are considered by the Eibishter as ratios, like the key and leading and principal in Yonim, or beginning factors. B'shvil HaTorah, Shenikras ratios, or B'shvil Yisrael, the Teros are called ratios. But there's a pasuk in Yirmiyah where it's written, Kodesh Yisrael Havai ratios to Wasei. So we see that Yidden are also called ratios. They're like the beginnings of all of the Avish's fruits coming off. And the Torahs are called ratios. He brings over there also a pasuk ratios Chokmah, as Chokmah Satir is called ratios. Of Amela, it comes out that the two main purposes are Yidden and the Torah. So there are a lot of biurim in Siddur and in Sichas of the Rebbe. What does that mean? What sort of a tachlis are they and how? But here the Rebbe says a very simple but very unusual and very pointed tachlis. What does it mean that you got two entities that they're the tachlis of the whole creation, and one is Yidden. What Yidden are nishomas in Gofim. How do you call it? They're human beings, as you might say, they're on 2 feet. Yeah? And the Torah is a instruction. As is brought down, the Torah is from Lashon Horah. It's a, how do you call it, an instruction or a teaching. So Rabbi said, Imkain, if you have an instruction about teaching, well, that's given to somebody. That's instructing somebody. So who is it instructing? It's instructing the Yidden. And through the Yidden, there will be a benefit also called Elam. Overmel, what's the tachlis of the whole Bria? That Yidden and the Torah should get together. That's to say, that Yidden should be Mekayim and keep the Torah. And through that, the Klolos or Elam will reach its purpose and its tachlis, so that's what he says, the Rabbi, and that's rather a different angle than what's written in most places. So the Rebbe said, "B'shvil ha'Torah shenikras rei, b'shvil Yisrael shenikroim reishis, u'kafi shemaforish Rashi b'pshutei shel mikra, koloimar, kidei shekol echad, the world was created, kidei shekol echad v'echad miYisrael yisnaheg al pi ha'ros ha'Torah, v'neger lekol ha'inyonim asher bo oilo." In other words, what's it got to do with the creation? That every Indian in Elam is governed in some way by the hoiros of the Torah. There's nothing in the world that is not embraced by the instructions and the teaching and the dinim of the Torah. Now, in other words, no matter where you'll be in the world and what you will meet up with in the world, there's something al Torah which governs that. That'll fit either the Saminian in Haggadah or in Medrash Chazal, or it will be shy to a certain halacha. Yeah, there's nothing in the world that won't be shy to a Hin and a Torah. And Yidden indicate that through their connection with the Torah. And the Torah was given to them that they should reveal that in the world. That's going to be mentioned shortly. Let's take a very simple example. B'ma'ura haki poshut v'rogil b'chayei hayom yom shall call odom. So the Rebbe said, let's take a thing which is very common, and it's a daily thing which occurs in the life of man, kishtiyas mayim, like drinking water. So the Rebbe said, why do you have to drink water? He said, because that's a dova hamuchrak lekiyum ha'odom. You have to have water, otherwise you can't exist. It's brought down in Sfarim that a mensch is something like 80% water. His whole body, his whole makeup. I don't know how much percentage, but he's made up of a lot of water. So he drinks water. He had to keep his water in good balance. He drinks water. So the Rebbe said that's in muchrak lekiyum ha'odom. And therefore, many human beings look at that as a very simple, not noticeable thing. You just polish off a glass of water or whatever, and people don't pay any special attention or look at it as anything significant. So therefore, he said, however, in this whole pattern that the whole world swirls around the fact that Yidden are going to keep Torah, that's what brings the whole necessity for the giving of the Torah and the creation of the world. He said, therefore, when you drink water, you also have to make a big issue out of that. So he said, "Shelifnei shtiyas hamayim makdim Yehudi gam yeled koton." What is important, the Rabbi hints to that even the Elodim Ktanim, you have to learn them, teach them to make brachas. And particularly after the option, after they've had their tispoiros, Rishona, and so you have to be margil them to say brachas. So the Rebbe said, "Lahoido is la kodesh baruch hu, he's thanking the Eibishter not just for that little bit of water which is inside the kos he's drinking, akamus katana shomayim. No, but then he's thanking the Eibishter for mayim in general. He said, Ubefrat, maloi lugma shel yeled koton is a small quantity. So the minimum you need to drink is a molei lugmo. When it comes to making a brocha reina, there's a machlokes in the poskim as to how much you have to drink. But the minimum possibility is what's called a molei lugmo. Well, a molei lugmo is how much you can fill out your cheek if you were to put in. So that's a small amount. So the Rebbe said, despite the fact that you're only drinking a small amount, he says, but you make a bracha al brias ha'olam kulei. You make a bracha which thanks the Eibishter and takes into account the creation of the whole world. Shahakol niyobit borei. He said, Shekol oilam kulei. Shemayim va'oretz v'kol tzva'on niyu b'dvorei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Even though you're only drinking a kamas ketana, you are responsible to praise the Eibishter and to make a public. The Rebbe said this is a form of publicity. You become like a unity through which you announce to the whole world the greatness of the Eibishter. So you get a new chayas in saying Asher Hakol. It gives you a whole new vista. What does it mean to say Asher Hakol? That you are, as it were, giving over to the whole world what it means, the whole creation. And so therefore the Rebbe says, you say Shahar but that means everything. Ni yobit borei. Shekol oilum kulei. Shemayim v'oretz v'kol tzva'om. Like we mentioned before. Ni yu b'dvorei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'asora ma mores nivra ha'olam. With the asora ma mores, what that's indicative of Dover, we say that the whole world and all of its tzva'om came about only through the speech of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not only was he not involved in an active way in the whole creation, but the whole creation is only a sort of mamores. It's only an infantivo, and you say bid vorei, meaning in his speech. And Bameravi, Duazu, Shakol Gora, Nivra, Alida Kodesh Baruch Hu, Poyelas, Yisnai, Odom, V'kol inem v'dova al pi ratoinei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu kaviyahu bazeh al derech ha'hirois b'teirosei. When you make a shahakol, says the Rabbi, you have to get a Yisraelis, Claudius, but to get to all inyonim of Yiddishkeit, B'klau. In other words, you've only just drunk a little bit of water and you made a shako. Or you have to be Messiah, you have to get to the Claudius Yiddishkeit, because you have announced to the whole world that the whole world is created by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if so, and you are praising him for that, as if so, the rest of the world is also created. Everything is created by the Eibishter, so everything is shaykh to the inyan of his Torah. Because if he created it and he made it possible for you to use it, then you have to go back to him when it comes to everything. And you have to ask him, just like I'm doing your will in this little bit of water in the course, how can I do your will? Kol shari hadvar. You follow? That we see the Rebbe makes a very simple point, but it develops itself into a whole hoira and a whole way of how you're supposed to live. You follow? You make a sha'ako, and from that you become a Elach Yid, you become a Yid Shoymater Mitzvah, and you have a brand. How do you call it? You get an enthusiasm and a koch in Yiddishkeit. So he said, "V'oi, v'gam ze'ika." So the Rebbe said there's another point to all this, and even that's also a firm principle in the whole union. He said, "Legalois ba'olam hoidos ha'torah shabara elikim." So the Rebbe said you have another function when you make a bracha of this nature, what Shehakol has the mila that it's got a very big generality to it. You also are megaleh, how to call it, you reveal to the world around that the Eibishter is the creator and the B'mecha, the Balabos and the controller of the whole world. So you are being megaleh to the whole world around you, how everything is totally, completely in the Eibishter V'Ritzoinoi. So he said, "Boy, v'gam legalis ba'olam, hoidoas ha'torah shebora Elokim, k'moi ba'amiras ha'bracha shehakol niyo b'dvarei, shal yodo mizgale kvoidei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'olam." It comes to us that you become like a center. When you make a shehakol, you become like a center to announce and make clear to the whole world the fact that it's dependent in the creation of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and therefore you have to do what he said. What is it to get to non-Jews even? That's what he's going to say, Behemshah, that even non-Jews, they're also under the effect of all this, because everybody, when he hears that the whole world is created by Hashem, and that every prat in the world is all only his creation, then you ask yourself, well, what does he want in other inyanim? What has to be done? But again, the clothes, Hayei ha'odam. So therefore, he said, even a non-Jew can ask that question, and he can be answered. It's a Sheva Mitzvahs, B'nai Noah. So therefore, he says, "V'yesh lo'imar inyan zeh marumas b'mayim harishan yehi oyer." We're talking now about the end of Gilui, of being megaleh to the world. So what is megaleh? What causes Gilui is oyer. Yeah, if you have choshech, then you don't have Gilui. But where you have oyer, then oyer reveals things. So the Rebbe said the first maimah after Parshes bara, like the Gemara says in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, Nami maimah. That's the first maimah of the 10 ma'amaros. Of a Parshes bara is the announcement of Benegeh to the Klolos, Kolo Elam, Nivra Alidei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is reflected more in the bracha Shehakol Niyo B'dvarei. But now he said, if we take the next one, the first in the list of the more specific ma'amaros, the first one is Yehi Oyer. Yeah, that's the first one. In other words, after you've already absorbed Parshes bara Elokim, then the next thing is Yehi Oyer. And once you've decided that everything is the Eibishter, and he is the Balabait, Kol Oilo V'chulu V'chulu, and then you realize that I've got to reveal that. I've got to light up the world with that passage. That's in and of Yehi Oyer. You have some problem? I'm sorry. I thought maybe I'm not. Is this all right? Is it?
Everything.
Yeah. Okay. So he said, the Rebbe Kumtais, that the first instruction of all the Asaris Ma'amaros is Yehi Oyer. You got to give off light. You got to spread light. That's the first thing. That means that you've got to be megale what you know. You've got to be megale to the whole world. So he said, The first Maimah after the Maimah reason is Yehioah, Sheboya near Mazor, are Iskalas, Toichaninian or Oya. In other words, that Yehioah indicates his union of revealing his colors, that you've got to make a revelation in the world. And he said that's the whole idea of Oyer, and therefore it's written Vayikro Elohim Lo Oyer Yoim. So we see that the whole Indian of day is based on the concept of Oyer. What do we call a day? A day in the life of a person is Oyer. Vayikro Elohim Lo Oyer Yom. So we see that Oyer is the basis of the whole concept of Yom, and all the Yom for that matter. So therefore he says, Ba'olam, Yeshiyeh Nika, Boy Bagiloi, Shenivra B'ma'amore Shel HaKodesh Baruch Hu. After the Chedei Tzadas B'miyuchad, and the way the world is, Karega, and now, it's not so begolui. Ulai Bereshis Abriya Mamis, it was more begolui that the Eivester was the Balabas. The Eivester created the whole world. However, the matzav now is that Elikus is lo kolkat begolui. We do see Elikus free Ashkocha Pratius and so on, but that's also through a preparation in ourselves. Or just pure observation doesn't necessarily show you Elikus. But he said, therefore you have the task of revealing Elikus in the world, of revealing that everything is from Kodesh Baruch. When you make a bracha like Shahako, then that's what you do. You reveal all this to those around you. That the whole function of a yid is to throw light, to reveal light in the world, and to reveal what is the world all about. And just by the way, when the Rebbe Rashab founded Tomchei Tmimim, when he set up the whole, what you might call Chabadska, what they call by the fellowship, the whole Chabadska, that was all. He said that the Talmidim of Tomchei Tmimim have to be Nerois Lahoya. That was their whole in. The whole in of the Talmidim and the yeshiva was only that each one of them should be Aneya Lahoya. His whole in was to be a candle that will give off light. That's the whole purpose. So the Rebbe said that's the holistic inyan of praising Hashem and making brachas and things of that nature. Is in order to throw off light. So therefore he says, Shanivra Bamal Marshakra Ubamela Misnahi Goilum Kulei Al Piratena Ishalakodesh Baruch, that a person will come to the conclusion that if everything is created by Kodesh Baruch and he runs everything, then from that it follows that everything that occurs is only according to Ritzay Noihu. He's the Balabayit. He owns the whole world. He created everything. And everything only functions according to his will. So you have to then ask yourself the question, how do I fit into his will? And that leads you, like we said before, just from the bracha to receive a chayas beklal in keeping Hashem's will. So therefore he said, Moishe HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'kiyuv v'chayis ha'olam she'yeh olam shel oyer v'toiv v'sholim amitiyam. So here's a very important deal. The Rebbe said, if Hashem looking down on the world sees that everybody's chapping themselves in this direction, that their whole inner is only to spread light and to give forth light, and to reveal the truth of the divinity of the whole world, then Hashem will be moisif, more chayas into the world, because that will be according to His will. And therefore He will add, and what will occur this chayas, or that will bring oyer v'toiv v'sholem amitiyam. So the Eibester will bring more oyer and benefit into the world, and he will bring Sholem Amitim. Now, this is a very big cloud in all the Rebbe's teaching, but again to Sholem. What the world calls Sholem, and what is Sholem Amiti, that's often, unfortunately, two things. If what they call over here Sholem, well, the Rebbe pointed out on many occasions that that's not real Sholem, you understand? And every morning you get up and you hear that they send another few rockets, or they're going to do this, or they have done this, or khulu, khulu. In other words, it's not Sholem. It's just, how do you call it, a harky-parky Sholem. A Sholem Amiti is only when it's based on Parshes Bora Elohim. It's based on the Rotzain of the Emerson Balabayit of the world. If you want Emerson Sholem, you have to do it according to how the Balabayit, who creates everything, how he wants it. Because he's the Emerson Baal HaRatzon. He's the one that, according to his Ratzon, runs the whole world. How do you make Sholem? First and foremost, you have to decide that those things which are written in the Torah, that they are the Yesod of the whole creation. And the first thing is that Eretz Yisrael, for example, belongs to the Jewish people. And it's a bris einam with Avraham Avinu, ad l'neitzach, ad sof kol ha'adoros v'koilo, Mashiach v'tchias ha'mesim v'cholu v'cholu. If you put that down as a yesod, and then you build all the, then you get what's called Sholem Amiti, then you get Emerson Sholem. And the Rebbe says, She'iyeh ha'olam HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be vayesev your chayis in a way that the oil will bring to a oilam shel oil v'toiv v'sholem amitiim. Oilam muar, how do you call it? A lit up world. In more correct English, a illuminated world. And therefore he puts in Yiddish a lichtige Welt, a very illuminated, lit up world. Begashmias, uberuchnias kam yachad. That'll bring that there'll be plenty in Gashmias, and in Ruchnias, the Gashmias will be a cleave for the Ruchnias, and therefore they'll be able to dwell together. It won't be a stirrer between Gashmias and Ruchnias. No, the Gashmias and Ruchnias will get together, and there will be one in Kam Yachad. That's one on the Alter Rebbe, the Bala Simcha, Yutis Kislev. The Alter Rebbe said that the Eibishter gives Yidden Gashmias, and the Yidden make from Gashmias Ruchnias, which means that really the Gashmias of a Yid is Ruchnias. So it follows, he said, that the Ruchnias and the Gashmias are not a stir or a opposing Inyan, but they really come together and they're like one Inyan. So that's what it means, Aliti Kavel. So we can see that if you look at it carefully, at that chapter, then you see a very amazing thing. People talk about what they call the ideal world. So some people say, oh, Shalom Aleichem, you got some surprising terms. How are you? Are you feeling better? You've had a hard time. Please sit in there.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're okay? That's great. So, can you hear over there?
Yeah, no.
As Mela comes out of piece that people say, those who are the so-called rationalists or the so-called realists, they say the way the world is, that's the way it is, it's not going to change. It's only going to get better or worse. The world doesn't really change. And so the whole leadership of the Rebbe trained us to think in an absolutely different way altogether. And that chapter that we just learned now, or that paragraph, that we just learned now, teaches us that you can have, even in the world the way it is prior to the massive change that's going to take place in Mashiach and Tchias HaMesim, you can already have what you might call an ideal world. You can have a world which will function outside Hayus HaToy, B'kol Inyanim, B'Gashmis, B'Ruknis, Gam Yachad, that they won't be any stira or unpleasantness, one be the other, that they'll be all one in it, and that will lead to what you might call, according to philosophy, to what you might call an union of ideal world, or how do you call it, the perfect world or the ideal world. There can be such a thing. And few are the individuals that they work in that direction, but there are certain individuals, I feel, by the Ummah, and the whole Indian of the Rebbe, that the Rebbe was the most amazing hub of everything that worked in the direction of an ideal world. Everything that leads to an ideal world was found in some way in and through the Rebbe. And that's what we see, that if you go with that portion of Cheshvan, and it all starts with a brocha, Shahaku Niyo Bitpore, you end up with this idea of a lichtika world, that he called an illuminated world. So the Rebbe said, that's in general, but we find a more specific obligation on the part of a Yid, that he has to actually light lights. Not only does he make lichtig through spirituality and through other, but we find there's an obligation in certain inyanim on the part of a Yid to actually light papoil, to make to light a ner papoil. So he said, inyan zeh, she Yehudi alideh hanagose al pi ha'torah me'ir es ha'olam. He's going to light up the world, make it a illuminated world. Mudgash begalui b'fa'ula or mitzvah shel hadlokas ner. There's a mitzvah in certain cases to actually light a light. Shal yoda nase oyer kipshutei. Up till now, we've spoken about spiritual light. We've spoken about illuminating human existence. But he said on certain occasions, there's an inyan where you have to actually light a light papoil, and then you cause an inyan for an kipshute, you cause in the most simple sense, begashmias, but mokim shloi hoyamua mikoidam lachein. It could be that before that was dark, and now you've lit a light there, and you've turned it into a illuminated spot. So he said, for example, mitzvahs has lokas ner Shabbos be'erev Shabbos. Here the Rebbe puts in very carefully that those who are reading might be aware that you have to know that the ner Shabbos is only on erev Shabbos, not on Shabbos. Yeah, be'erev Shabbos. V'ner Chanukah kidala come on, as we're going to mention as we go along. At the speed we're moving, I don't know how far we're going to get, but anyway. So, but that's the way I am. I'm sorry, but that's the way I teach, and we'll just have to make the best of it. So, this is when you write Ner Shabbos, then what do? You make in a given point in the world illumination for Gashmis, Kipshute. So he says, from that we can learn and he said that if we will examine carefully what's the whole inyan of lighting Ner Shabbos, and later we're going to mention Ner Chanukah, we'll be able to learn from that once again to all inyanim of Torah. They will reveal to us what we're supposed to be doing b'klogas avodah. Why? Because the pasuk says mafurish in Mishlei neir mitzvah v'toira oyer. The whole inyan of a neir, a mitzvah is like a neir, and the Torah is the light on the neir. Yeah. So we see that if you don't have the mitzvah, then the Torah can't give over light. But once you're mekayim the mitzvahs b'poil, then the Torah becomes a a inyan of giving off light. And the Torah, as it were, is like a flame on the kli and the pasila of the mitzvah. Well, that's another very important inyan, that you must never learn Torah from somebody who doesn't keep the mitzvahs. And nowadays it's not such a problem, but in my early days and in generations, not all that far past, there was a beginning of people who weren't really Ehrlich Yidden, but that they were involved in teaching or giving over Torah studies and a whole mitzvah. So therefore, what the Rebbe is indicating with that is that first of all, you have to have a ner mitzvah, and then the Torah is on. But if you don't have the ner mitzvah, then the Torah is not necessarily on. He said, "Toik no shochat lochis ner Shabbat." What is the whole inner message of lighting a ner on Shabbos? Shepoelas al kol hashavua. We see that when you light that light on Erev Shabbos, for the sake of Shabbos, well, that has an effect on the whole week. Your whole household becomes a different house. Because you lit that light on Erev Shabbos, then your house is a different Shabbos the whole week. How do we know that? Because it's written by Sora Imeinu. And when Yitzchak brought Rivka Imeinu into his mother's tent, then certain things came back that hadn't been there since she left. And one of them was now Matlit me Erev Shabbos ad Erev Shabbos. So by Rivka Imeinu, that she was one of the mothers of the Klal Yisrael, it was Mamish Kipshuta. Her nair burnt the whole week. Yeah, well, by us, we're not necessarily zeicher to such a nes, kol echad v'chad, but nonetheless, says the Rebbe, the inyan is there. When you light the nair on Erev Shabbos, then that is ma'ir the house the whole week. Mi Erev Shabbos ad Erev Shabbos. So Kulteislas, he said, once again, in every inyan and the Rebbe Sichas, you can learn so much from each detail. From that it comes out that the inyan of Ner Shabbos is what's called in Halacha a Pa'ula Nimsheches. It's all the time going on. It's not something that like you do once and then you come back again after a given amount of time. But once you've lit the Ner Shabbos, it affects your whole house for the whole week. Yeah, and so the time given in the Gemara in respect to Shabbos, the Gemara gives the time. Why do I have to have a Ner on Erev Shabbos? Shlom Bayis is very interesting. The Gemara says that that's for the peace of the household. And so the Gemara explains that if it's dark, then people don't like eating and sitting and being in a family meeting. And when it's dark, it's letting the whole thing. And the Rebbe said that would cause like a sort of a tzar. Of the Gemara says another inyan that let's say you get up to bring something to the table. Since it's dark, you might fall over a stone, or you didn't notice, or you might, how do you call it, bang your head against a piece of wood, or you might fall over a piece of wood. And therefore it's brought in the Gemara that you have to have a nair, because if a person bangs his head or he stubs his toe, yeah, he gets angry with the people around him. And that's the opposite of Shlom Bayis. Shlom Bayis doesn't just mean him and his ribs, it means the whole family. And if he falls on a stone and he gets irritable, that's what's in the Gemara. And therefore, the whole inyan, and therefore the Rambam brings down that if you've only got enough money on the first day of Chanukah, only for Ner Shabbos or any day of Chanukah, and for Ner Chanukah, then you have to buy Ner Shabbos first, because Ner Shabbos is Shlom Bayis. That's a inyan ikri in the whole lifetime of the family. So he says, "Shebnei beisai mitztayirin leishev b'choshech uleechol." Well, that's number one. And then he said, "Shelo yikosho be'etz or be'evan." That's the lesson of the Gemara, and the Alter brings it down. And there's another in there that if you get up to bring something, who knows what might happen? You might fall over, yeah, a piece of wood or whatever. Shagam, and then Bamera, that will upset the shalom bayis. Shagam's man halayla. He said also the etzem time of nighttime. Zman shel choshech al piseda habriya nase muah. So what you've done by lighting that little neya, I mean, the Rabbi spoke about this when it get to the young girls and the young children, that they should light neros, that what you do is you cause the choshech, but that's a factor in the whole bria. Yeah, choshech is part of the whole function of the bria. You've made it more, in other words, that it's all, albeit darkness, maybe beklal oil, but you having lit the Ner Shabbos, you have made, yeah, illuminated the darkness. Yeah, and how have you done that? Through the Ner Mitzvah of the Torah oil, yeah, through the Mitzvah, which is a Ner and the Torah oil. Validei says, Shehudi Madlik Ner Shemeya Balayla. Through that, the Yid lights a Ner, which makes the opposite of Choshech by night. Yeah, he said, Kadesh Gam Balayla Yuchal Lilmei Torah Ulisnaik Alpi Hoyreiseya. He said, but the whole main purpose of why he writes the light is minimally to save Shlom Bayis, that he shouldn't fall over. Of a Venegela Poyo, what does he have out of it? What is his benefit of the Ner? That he should be able to go ahead and do important things. On Shabbos, it's a bit of a shayla to learn. Mama Shal Ner. By electric light, it's not so much a question. But in other nights, or in general, you help yourself to be able to learn Torah by lighting a light at night time. Ulisnaik alpi ha'iroi of what the Torah teaches you. Lirois ulahavchin bein ma'achol kosher l'ma'achol she'enu kosher. So he said, there's another thing. If you can see what you're doing, you're not mitzvah, because you can see what you're reading. As put down in Sforim, that a person who eats in darkness, he doesn't really enjoy the food. He doesn't really feel that there's a whole in him that you should be able to see what you're eating. It's a big issue. But the Rabbi said it's not only that you have to see what you're eating, but you have to be able to see what are you eating. Meaning, you have to be able to be careful and see clearly what sort of hexer it has, or, is it a dover kosher cloud, or is it not? So therefore he said, L'maichel she'ena kosher, v'l'havdil, be'maichel kosher, l'maichel she'ena kosher, l'ishtakel b'sidor, that you should be able to look into a siddur, v'loima ha'brocha ha'matima. And you should be able to say the proper bracha on that particular food, or bilha samozeh. Yeah, but that's a more general bracha midoraisa. Well, derech zeh, bracha is the ner Chanukah. Well, it's well known that on the first night you have to make 3 brachas, b'layla harishon, or beis brachas, b'kol layla shachareiho. In other words, on the first night we make also shechianu. On the other nights we only make lahadlik ner Chanukah and she'osa nisim, Rabbi saying. Over shechianu is only on the first night. Over that brings to 3 brachas. Ukiyetze b'zeh b'shara inyonim shetzorich lisnai bohem al pi hoiroi satoira. Well, that's in of ner mitzvah v'terah, everything that lights up and makes possible that you should be able to do everything according to ner mitzvah v'terah, shemeir es darkoi v'hanagosei shelo odom. The whole way of acting of a yid is illuminated. In other words, you can tell straight away if you're in the company of a yid, because his whole way of acting is different. And how is that? Because it's lit up and illuminated by all of these factors, and he is like a moving candle on 2 feet to bring to revelation and gilui of the Ratzon Hashem, due to the fact that the Eibishter is Balabayas of Kol Olam, the voracious Bora. I can tell you a story, but I don't know if I really should. But I remember, so I'll tell you the story. I'm going back now well over 60 years. I'm going back a long time. I don't remember how long it was. But I was still in Australia. I was still a university student. And the Korean War became a bit serious. So the Australian government made an agreement with the Allied powers that it will send troops to Korea, which, Baruch Hashem, in the end, it didn't really come out all that terribly much, but they did. They did send troops to Korea. But everybody knew what a terrible war that was. And everybody knew, so there was a lot of fear in Australia at that time. However, the government in Australia decided that all people in a certain age group have to be, it was like a Giyus Klali, how do you call it? General mobilization, exactly what word to call it. Yeah. So we were all students in the university, and to our great anger and chagrin, you can't imagine, we were, how do you call it, militarized into the army. We were, what's the expression? We were taken into the army. Oh, somewhere in this world of, dressing up in weapons and mines, it's hard to describe the effect that it had on some of us, However, the very interesting thing was that there was a few Jewish guys that also got, they were also Maguyas. And I'm an observant person. I've always sort of looked carefully at things that happen. And I was very struck by a few of these Jewish guys, the way they acted, just the way they sort of reacted to the situation. And then I noticed that when we went to the canteen, to pack in and eat, that they had a sort of a separate little line. They didn't stand in the same line. And they were sort of received from a different point. And it seemed to take longer, they stood a long time waiting. So I asked one of them, what is the story that you guys do? So he said, oh, this is kosher food, especially for us. So we have to wait till they open it and they bring it and the hin and the her. So I said to this guy, I said to him, are you a religious Jew? And he said, he said, that's a good question. He said, the truth is, I'm not really all that religious. He said, but he said, I will never eat a thing which is not kosher. He said, I may be lacking in a lot of things, but he said that I'm not lacking. He said, I'm not prepared to eat something which is not kosher. So I thought to myself, that's really weird. He says on the one hand that he's not all that careful, and yet he says when it comes to a certain thing, he's not prepared. And you could see there was something, And then later he looked me up, this guy. He came up and he said, you should realize that in the civilian life, I don't keep very much at all. He said that I do try, to keep kosher. He said, when I'm here, Davkia, I'm going to keep kosher. I'm Davkia coming says that this whole crazy organization called the Australian Army will provide me Davkia with kosher food. He said, and I'm not prepared. I was very taken, I was very moved by that. And so later, I said, listen, maybe we can meet up and have a bit of a chat. And later, through that, it developed a whole comradeship with this fellow. Very amazing business. He was very brilliant, by the way. He was already like how he called not a professor, but a tutor. He was a tutor. He was moving towards being a professor in the university. He was very brilliant. And yet, nonetheless, he believed in Hashem. He said he just doesn't do everything what Hashem wants of him, but he knows that really Hashem really wants it of him. And he says, amazing. And he said, but he's not going to eat anything, only kosher. And I was very impressed by this powerful mind. He was very, very brilliant, but absolutely. That he had this Parshes Emunah, and it was Benegel Poyo. It came into action, albeit maybe not in full expression, but it came into action in that Dina. And anyway, I've already told you I've let the cat out of the bag. So that's that story. And we were threatened for weeks that we were going to Korea. The chief sergeant, he said to us, get ready, you guys, anytime. We're going to pack you all off to Korea. That's what he said. And Baruch Hashem, in the end, something happened. I don't know exactly what. They decided not to send so much forces, or I don't know, there was a sort of a break in the agreement, or something happened. And all this regiment that we belonged to, it wasn't sent. Baruch Hashem, I didn't see Korea, thanks to Hashem. So that's what the Rebbe means, that you are supposed to be a ner mitzvah until your Torah, or you give off light, and that lights you up and it makes you into like an individual light. And Rabbi says, the Rebbe, that's ner Shabbos. That's just ner Shabbos. He said, "Ma'ili yesera b'ner Chanukah gam l'gabi ner Shabbos." But come in, and he said, however, ner Chanukah has a mile in it, even l'gabi ner Shabbos. Even though the Rambam paskins that if you don't have enough money, you should buy ner Shabbos and not ner Chanukah. He said, nonetheless, in the Indian for mile, what you might call, how do you call it, spiritual elevations, there's certain things in Chanukah which are even greater than Ner Shabbos. What are they? He said, Allah, mitzvahs Ner Chanukah, nitakno laharish ulegalis hanes, she'ira b'yamei Chanukah. He said, the whole inyan of Ner Chanukah is sure gilui, because we already established that Ner is gilui. But he said it's a gilui, and to show others the nes that happened. And what was the nes? The Yemei Chanukah. Now this is a quote from the Rambam. Kishemalcha Yovad Gozru Gezeirus Al Yisrael, V'lo Yinicho Isom Lasi B'Tera Uva Mitzvahs. So there was a big Torah. That's what the Rambam writes. Hayitzah lehem me'id, ad shurichem aleim elokei avosenu v'hoshiyom miyodom v'yitzilom. That the Eibishter came along and he rescued the Yidden from gezeras of a how do you call it, enemy people, of a conquering people. So Kumtois, that the etzeminian of Ner Chanukah indicates a nes which assisted the Jewish people to be rescued from Tsar, from the hyper of cooperation. So therefore we see that Ner Chanukah means that Yidden are prepared to keep Torah mitzvahs even in the light of where Goyim are trying to prevent them. In other words, even where you need Mesiras Nefesh to do so. So that's one mile in Ner Chanukah, and that's what he says. Kunusach Birchas Ner Chanukah, she'osa nisim lavisena b'yomim v'heim b'zman hazeh, v'chein b'tfilah shel yakri zeh. The tefillah that we say after we've lit the lights, brought down in Masechta Sofer, in the Shas, Haneiris halolu onu madlikin ala teshuos, v'ala nisim v'ala niflois, and then at the end we say al nisercho v'al niflois sercho v'al yeshuoi sercho. Except the two words, teshuas and yeshuas, are similar, but what do they imply? What is a teshua and a yeshua? That implies that there's an enemy that you need to be saved from. Yeah. If you need a yeshua, there's something which is preventing you. And a teshua is the same idea. So therefore, Rabbi Shemoire umadgish, or that comes along. Even the word nisim, laviseina, b'yomim mahim. If you just think what was going on b'yomim mahim, then you realize that that is moira umadgish anitzochen shal b'nai Yisrael b'hanagosom b'kiyum atera mitzvahs גם במימד ומצב שיש מניע ועיכוב מצד אומות העולם. In other words, that you are not prepared to keep Torah mitzvahs, even b'mesiras nefesh, even when they need a Yeshua from the preventation of umos ha'olam. And that's what the word Teshua and Yeshua indicates. So I see everybody's dropping to sleep. Uri, Shir, Daberi. Aber Mele kommt euch, the Rebbe said it's hidden in the Nea Chanukah, not just the Nea Mitzvah of Torah Oyer, because anybody in his normal sense, and anybody under inverted commas normal circumstance, he can keep Torah mitzvahs. But where you have preventative and you're under captivity and they don't want you to keep Torah mitzvahs, and nonetheless you keep them, or that is a very special milah in the Nea. Because the Nea is remembering not just the actual kiyum, but also the Indian of mesiras nefesh, of standing firm, despite the fact that you're in a matzav of equal from the umos ha'olam. B'meila v'lochein mudgash boi b'yoisa. Yeah, it comes out a very, very powerful thing. Ha'oyer haruchani, the nea mitzvah v'torah, oyer yoisa mi'bener Shabbat. The Rabbi said this whole inyan of mesiras nefesh, of a mitzvah, that's a dover ruchni, that's an inyan for ruchni. And so the greatness of Ner Shabbos we saw expressed itself more in Gafni, what you might call in the stability of a basically physical thing, that you shouldn't fall over AIDS forever, and then there should be the happiness that a person feels when he can see what he's eating. Here the Rabbi said we're talking about an Indian which is an Oya Ruchani Bilvat, and it represents the essential stance of a Yid despite working against him from the Goyim. That's a very powerful Indian. So therefore, said the Rabbi, that's why we find that there's a halacha by Ner Chanukah in a footnote. The Rabbi brings that by Ner Chanukah there's a din for an oser lishtamish by him. Ve'ein lanu reshus lishtamish means that you just have to look at the Ner bilvad. You're not allowed to use it even to count money or anything like that, because that is a Gafni. And the Ika Indian of Ner Chanukah is the mesiras nefesh, which is a Indian ruchni, and therefore ein lanu reshus lishtamish b'hem. Ma she'en Ner Shabbos is davki made lishtamish b'hem. Who's davki? Almanat lishtamish b'hem. Aber mehr mitzvahs nech, that's first. Second, mitzvahs nech Chanukah hi bo'even sheyom rishon madlik echad mikan ve'elik moisif ve'elik. We paskin according to the Mahadrim, Mina Mahadrim, what the Brisa tells us in the Gemara, and the Mahadrim, Mina Mahadrim say every night you have to add an extra light. So he said you're being moisif ve'elik עד ליום השמיני שבו ימדליק שמונה נרות, שבזה מודגש שמיום ליום מוסיף ההילה כל אחד ואחד מישראל. Well, that teaches us that every day a Yid is heilig mosiv, he has to be all the time adding. He shouldn't be satisfied with what he had yesterday. Yesterday was Tachlis Hashlemus, like yesterday. Oh, but now you got to add another light. You follow? And so every night you keep adding, which shows the Sinyan of vayesev. And that says the Rabbi is what's written, Yecho Michael El Choyo, or that's enough from going from strength to strength. B'nei mitzvah v'Torah oya, b'meshech shiva yemei yomim retzufim. מהלילה השני שבו מתחילה התוספת על הנר האחד ללילה ראשון עד ללילה השמיני. Addition is only 7 nights, because the first night you light one. That you add only begins on the second night. Then we see that you add. So the addition is only from the second night to the 8th night, and that is 7 nights, 7 days. So the Rebbe says that the union of 7, hakoilulim kol yemei hashavua, 7 days includes all the 7 days of the week. Shivas yemei Parshes. Once again, we come back to this Parshes, the whole world. Well, that's the Shivas yemei Parshes. Shehem klolos hazman. The whole of our time is all included in these, 7 days. That's the close union of time. And we see that the whole union of time, particularly by Yidden, is counted according to 7 days. Because every week you start all over again. You say, Yom Rishon, for Shabbos. This is already about the millionth, or who knows how many million days has already been since the world was created. Why say Yom Rishon? Because after Shabbos, you start all over again. It's like a new passage of time, which must always be in this 7-day period, and therefore that's klolos hazman. Shadi deize nase kein b'terem mamela ba'oven automati b'meshek kol hashavuos sheli achrei zeh b'meshek kol hashana kula. The whole time you're all the time progressing and moving, and you're always adding and doing better than what you did the day before. Shemiyom le'yom vayesev v'hoilach b'nei mitzvah v'Torah. Every day you have to be increasing and adding and going. You must never be satisfied with what you had the day before. So with that, we'll see. I see everybody's tired and everybody's had enough of one evening. But the Rebbe writes in a footnote here.
We just do Gimel, because there were 3 things here. We did Aleph and Beis with the Kamen Yonim. We did Aleph and Beis, it's just the Gimel.
And something without printing.
Sorry?
Something wrong with the printing.
No, I was asking if you could. I was just asking if you could say Gimel, because we did Aleph Beis in the Kamen Yonim. Could we just have a little bonus of the Gimel?
Oh, we haven't done Gimel.
Yeah.
That's the old saying, you can't have everything. But what I want to stress is that the Rebbe says that if you got to add every day, so you're going to come to Hanukkah the next year. You're going to keep going, and you'll be adding all the time. And then you come to Hanukkah the following year. So I've added every day of a year, now I've come to Hanukkah. So I'll just keep that like I've been doing, how would you call it? I can rest on my merits, to use the English expression. So the Rebbe said, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, in Ageras HaKodesh, that every Rosh Hashanah is a new oil that's never been in the world before. I don't know if you know it. It's a famous cloud from the Alter Rebbe. The Rebbe said, when you reach the Hanukkah the next year, that's already a new year. That's a new year, and it's a whole new oil that's never been in the world before. As you can, you've got to reach that challenge. You've also got to come up and be new in a way that you've never been before. You're going and adding the whole time is in it's not necessarily comparable one level to the other. So you see, with the Rebbe, you could never get finished. You could never say, I've achieved what he wants. you're always, heading to a certain point, and then it starts all anew in it. It's not that you say, oh, yeah, fine, I'll do that all over again and I'll be fine. No, and therefore those of us who would, by the Farbrengens of the Rebbe, for example, every Farbrengen was anew in it. And many times the Rebbe would say it's a new mitzvah now. Up to now, been all the mitzvahs. Now it's a new mitzvah. And almost every Farbrengen, even those on Shabbat, there's always like a new, emphasis. What we might call a Risha, Chadosha, And in other words, you never finish, you never reach a point where, oh, Baruch Hashem, I've reached what the Rebbe wants of us. It's always a new, that's so typical what he writes in this footnote. By the time you reach Hanukkah the next year, then you've got to go completely new, and you're going to be adding the whole time in another way that you haven't been doing all this year. So with that, we wish everybody a good Ner of Shabbos, and we wish them a Freilich and Levitik and Chanukah. And you have to remember, you have to be, how do you call it? You got to keep going, improving the whole time. And you got to announce to the world the Parshes, Bara, Elokim, Esa Shamayim, Esa Oret, which means that I'm in the hands of Hashem, and I got to do it His way. If He created the whole thing, that's like the old saying: if something goes wrong with the washing machine, then you have to go to the maker. You have to go and ask the manufacturer, who made the washing machine, what to do. So that with the Bria, it's the same thing. He created it. He's the Balabas. We want to know what to do. You have to ask him. So people will tell you all sorts of good design, but you have to ask him what he says, and then you can judge what they're saying. First of all, we have to judge and hear what he said. I remember once, I won't keep it anymore, but I remember once that this is more up to date. When I was in the army over here, I was in the Australian army, not out of my will. Over here also, they didn't really ask me very much, but anyway, whatever. I was here on Middle-Wing, and I remember once we were down in the Sinai, and it was Hanukkah. Came to Hanukkah. So a couple of Datim and myself, we got together and we had a nice, Hanukkah tent and everything lit it. And so one night there was a group of guys that came in and they wanted to use our tent, so we put in extra beds, and it was a whole sort of come together, of guys. And these guys were, kibbutznikim and all sorts of things. They weren't into all this club. So, they were saying, what's all this, So I remember that there was one of the guys, that he spoke very good Hebrew, he could sort of talk the type of Hebrew that they were used to hearing. And he said to them, if something goes wrong with your car, something goes wrong with your, maybe he used the expression washing machine also, I'm not sure. He said, what do you do? He said, you ask the maker, you have to go back to the manufacturer. And he said, if you do what he says, then it's going to work good. You have to follow his lines, then it's going to work good. And so one of the, is that me? No? So, oh yes it is. That's not a call, it's an SMS. Yeah, they send about every half an hour I get a new SMS. It sounds like we are reversing the Tzimtzum. No, the Tzimtzum was made to be refined, not reversed. If we reverse the Tzimtzum, then we get back to Tohu V'Vohu. We get too much at one go. We're not being mevatel the Tzimtzum. we're working through the Tzimtzum, we're elevating all. In Yiddish, we're oiseitelen, the Tzimtzum. You follow? Sorisi in Elokim Vanoshim V'tuchal doesn't mean that he was mavatal the whole Tzimtzum. It means that he wrestled with the Hester of the Tzimtzum, over the Mila of the Tzimtzum he left. You follow? Anyway, Isla Hari. He took away the hill and vayesev with this in the center.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the whole. Over Mela, when these, how do you call it, these kibbutz guys that were in the tent, and they heard him saying to them, a car, that sort of thing, they understood good, and they realized that there's a point there. If you wanted to work with, you have to ask the maker. And, we stressed, once we caught that point, we stressed it in different ways. We had a whole talk with them until about 3 o'clock in the morning. And they didn't want to go to sleep. They wanted to continue the talk. And it just shows you that now mitzvah, the Torah, it lights up, and it lights into, the cup of a yid into his neshama. And he's caught by it, what's all this, and when he hears that it's based on a very simple principle, that the Balabais, he's the one who knows what has to be, then it changes their view. And that's all in of Chanukah as a kesher with Yutas Kislev also, because the Alter Rebbe went on Mesiras Nefesh. He didn't have to go. It's well known, the whole story. And that's in a Mesiras Nefesh. And Mesiras Nefesh is in from Sheman. And that's what the Gemara says. You want to get Sheman from the sides. It's a Gemara, Masechet Menachos. You have to press so the whole of Yutas Kislev was the question. That is a very profound inyan. And that's the whole Seder of Mesiras Nefesh, and that gives forth the Sheman, and the Sheman is the Pnimiyah. That's the whole of Ner Chanukah. They didn't give in under the curse, like the Rabbi said, that even though it was a need for Yeshua's, it was a pressure from the Yom HaSolam, they gave forth the Sheman Torah. And they gave their Sheman Torah. Remember that brought the Sheman Torah, the Derek Nes for the base of Mikdash. So the same now, if we will take the right attitude, and we'll know that it's Erev HaGeula Shlema, and that our whole union is to devote ourselves to the words of the Rabbi, encouraging us to do everything to bring the Geula Shlema. And that doesn't mean like in the time of Chanukah you have to make a war with elephants or something. And it doesn't mean you have to jump off the roof or what. It means you have to, work beyond the normal demand of the koiches. And that's the koichin, that's the kvetchi. And then you give out the pnimius of your neshama, and that's the emes of Sheman. And that'll lead to the Sheman in the base of Mikdash Ashlishi. Take it from here. But yesh v'harik b'seh harbeit. And the whole union of the base of Mikdash is oil, by the way. The whole union of the base of Mikdash is oil. And therefore it's got to do with the menorah, and the menorah is the in a way, what you might call the whole center of the base of Mikdash. We take him miyad mamish in the base of Mikdash Ashlishi. So be well, everybody. Have a good Erev Shabbos and good Shabbos. Have a favorite Chanukah, everybody. And so sign richtig. So, absolutely right.
I have a warning now.
You want to say L'chaim? Okay. Just for a minute or two. You don't feel obliged. We've finished tonight. If you need to go, okay. We're just going to say L'chaim.
Yeah.
stop the,
We've been missing you.
thank you. Are we still rolling with,
I'm sorry?
still recording or stop the recording?
Yes. We're going to say L'chaim now.
Absolutely. Very good.
Go to it. Hello. So,
Thank you. That's all right. You want this?
what are you fishing around there, John? What's he looking for?
Looking for the bottle of Lacan. Looking for the.
This.
The thing that opens the bottle. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
I wanted to ask you a question, maybe I'll call you. I said I had a question for you, maybe I'll call you.
You have a question?
Yeah, but maybe I'll call you.
Yishai. Tartei kos yain. Tartei kos yain. Yain. You have a glass.
Yeah.
You want a glass? Okay.
Just a little bit.
Just a sip.
I have a. That's it.
Okay. All right.
Yourself.
I think there's more cups. Okay.
Amen.
That's
So, it contains, according to what we learned this evening, that the whole meaning of a yid is to make light, to cast light, to make light. And that's a Indian Klali. Like we said, when the Rabbi founded Tomchei Tamimim, he said the Talmidei HaTamimim have to be Neiris Lahoya. The whole meaning is Lichtigkeit. The whole meaning of Yid is to illuminate. The non-Jews, their meaning is to assist, not to disturb, but to keep a basic Seder in the world. But that's the Sheva Mitzvahs, the B'nai Noach. But the meaning of a Yid is to illuminate. And Yesh Loimar, that's the whole meaning of the Beis HaMikdash, is the menorah. because Dawki through the menorah, the light went out through the windows, through the thin windows. It went out into the world, away from Kloli. And therefore the menorah stood opposite the Orient. Because according to the Ramban, the whole purpose of the Beis Hamikdash is to keep the Orient and to keep the Luchos. And it's like a repetition of Matan Torah. That's what the Ramban says. But nonetheless, the menorah stands right opposite. Just the parecha separates them. Or it stands right opposite the Orient. Because the whole of the menorah is to do what the Torah is all about. The Torah is the way to bring the oil over. The one that gives off the oil, Bapoyo, that's the menorah. You follow? And therefore, in the Haftarah of Shabbos Parshes, Shabbos Chanukah, we say Nevuah of Zechariah, Beneget, and he says, "Hine Raisi Menorah Zav Kula." You saw a golden menorah. It was all purely gold, but all sorts of details of it. It's brought down that indicates the neshamas, that he saw the Klorasinya, neshamas Israel, and he calls them a menorah Sohov Kula. Yeah. In other words, that every year there's a chelik of the menorah, and the whole unit of the menorah is to give off light. That's all we need. So that means that you have to take your Torah and you have to make it illuminate not only yourself, but the in of the world away from Kloli. And that's the amazing point that the Rebbe makes here, that the whole inner of Parshes, which is the sod of the whole Torah, Bora, Elohim, as the Shamayim Bora, you've got to illuminate, you've got to be megala that in the world. It comes to us that everything is a uniform light, it's a uniform illumination and lichtikai, and that's the whole uniform. And the whole uniform, the Avonim, the so-called, what's it called? Forgotten the word. The Avonim, a word referring to Greek philosophy, Greek way of doing things.
Hellenistic.
Huh?
Hellenists.
Huh?
Hellenists.
Hellenism. Oh, yeah, Hellenism. Yeah. Well, that's choshek. That's the hepek of oil. Because that takes seichel and divorces it from divinity. That you can have seichel, and with that you can achieve. That you can maybe talk about the divine, but you don't really reach it. You only maybe say something about it, but you don't really reach it. And seichel and divinity are divorced entities. According to Torah, it doesn't go that way. The whole union seichel is only if it's based on that. Then it's a lichtika seichel. Then it's a seichel that illuminates. But Hashem should help us all. We be near the slow. We have to give off a little light. Each and every one of us in this life. And that was the Alter Rebbe. Yesh Loima. That's why the Alter Rebbe went. He didn't really need to go, but that's why he went.
You want the pamphlet back, yeah?
You can take that with you.
Take a few?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I have a little learning group tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's
Definitely
one
take.
that the one page is missing. So just look, it's got both sides.
Okay.
The second page is blank, but it should be full.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
And later on, he talks about the Levian, how that brings all of them together. And so, okay, guys. So be well. L'chaim.
Shabbat shalom. Chag Sameach.
And it should be the Shlach already says that Chanukah is from Russian Chinuch. It's like re-educating the world. The world gets used to darkness and bilbo. The Holy Name of Chanukah puts everything back, and that's why it's Russian Chinuch. Good. Okay, guys. Yeah, so be well.
And